This started because the president judge of the Common Pleas Court of Westmoreland County, I guess, was shrewd enough to realize back in 2003, 2004 that the 100th anniversary of the building was coming up, and he wanted to do something to commemorate that building. And so he invited people from St. Vincent College, Seton Hill University, Pitt, Greensburg, WCCC, and they determined that they wanted to put a book together and they wanted to do some kind of broader commemoration. And at that meeting from St. Vincent were Father Rene, who is now the Dean of Humanities and Fine Arts, but at that time was the chair of the History Department, and Susan Summers, who was just a regular member of the History Department. And they recommended that, or they nominated me to be an editor of that, and the group from Seton Hill nominated Michael Cary, who's in the History Department.
The next thing I know, I got a letter from Judge Ackerman asking me if I'd be willing to edit a book on the courthouse. And I said yes, and he said he'd also send a letter to you, to Tim Kelly, St. Vincent.
And we did not know each other at that time. We had not yet met. No. I think we first met at one of those meetings, actually.
Right. Yes, we did.
And so we both were sort of nominated in absentia to do the book for this, and then we both agreed to do it. And then really for about 3 or 4 years, we attended meetings of this committee that had sort of grown larger and larger.
I thought of it as community service more than scholarship, but as I got into it more, it became more scholarship than I thought I was going to have to be doing, and really learned a lot about the history of Westmoreland County in the process.
I'm not a local historian in that I don't do research on Westmoreland County, or I didn't before then, and now I actually have begun to do a lot more in Westmoreland County. But I would drive by Route 30 I live in Pittsburgh, so I'd drive back and forth, and I'd see it every day, and I thought, what a beautiful dome, but I'd never really been inside of it. And it really is a spectacular building. The dome from outside is very striking, and it's kind of on a hilltop, or it's definitely on a hilltop, so it sort of dominates the landscape. But inside the building are just extraordinary courtrooms. The interior, the marble staircases, the marble flooring, the elaborate and ornate courtrooms. It really is just a beautiful, beautiful building.
The nice thing about this courtroom is that it's so beautiful that I take advantage of that when we're calling a panel of jurors up to try a case. We bring them through this door, and of course they've been downstairs in some utilitarian room that are waiting to be called, and so they haven't formed much of an impression as far as the courthouse is concerned. And I like to be on the bench and watch them come through the door and see their expressions change. It's wonderful that that's happened. It's wonderful that they did design courtrooms like that, because I think that was the intended purpose. It was to create an atmosphere where people would say, this is important business that we're going to do here, and it's not to be taken lightly.
Well, they're going to get a couple of things that are really, I think, very interesting. One is they're going to get a wonderful production quality of a kind of a nice coffee table book that has beautiful images of Greensburg, broadly conceived, Westmoreland County, over the last 100 years, even a little bit longer than 100 years in some cases. And then, and that's largely the result of the work of a number of students here, and Mike Cary and I doing research, and also of Dick Wasalik, who teaches in the English department, who was able to find a number of other historical images. He's the publisher of the book, so he has had a lot to do with putting it together. But these images are just sort of beautiful and breathtaking in a lot of ways, and startling in other ways, and the production quality is very high. So, and we had wonderful authors. We had about 10 different authors with the book. Mike and I each had a chapter, and then we had,
it was exciting that we could get our students involved.
That might be, so Judge Ackerman did a chapter.
Yes.
And Mark Soros, who took a lot of the photographs that are available in the book, or that are displayed in the book.
The legal community is well represented with Judge Ackerman, Mark Soros, Lou DeRose, and Nevin Wallum, representing the Bar Association.
Maybe the most exciting thing for us, each of us had this extraordinary opportunity of having an undergraduate student who was originally doing research with us on a project, and that research grew into sort of a full collaborative effort, so that Joe Bankovich, who is from St. Vincent College, and he's now living out in Los Angeles, was a junior when he started, did 2 years of work on this, and then wrote the chapter on the architect William Kaufman and one of Mike's
Aaron
students.
Pearson, one of my students, started as a project for a research course and finished it, completed a rough draft, and then completed the final draft during her senior year in law school. So it was actually 4 years ago.
4 years.
She just graduated this past May from Washington Lee Law School.
So you have two things. You have the wonderful images, which are terrific and worth the price alone, and then you have these sort of historical chapters that were written by local historians, professional historians, attorneys, sort of amateur historians, just interested people, graduate students. They really put together a really nice combination of information, text, and images. Barnes & Noble now has copies of it in Greensburg. You can get copies from the St. Vincent bookstore and the Seton Hill bookstore. You can get them online through barnesandnoble.com. And you can get them probably most easily through the Center for Northern Appalachian Studies, or the Northern Appalachian Studies Center at St. Vincent College, by writing to the center or going online to the center's website and ordering copies of the book.